You like parties? You're the life of the party? You don't mind being in crowds? People often tell you that you're very outgoing, so you always assumed that you were an extrovert. But then you start questioning things. You ask yourself, am I really an extrovert? Do I get energized by being around people? Or do I actually need time to recharge afterwards? Can I really handle large crowds? Or do I get drained by them? And so you start paying attention to how you react in certain situations. You find yourself wanting to spend more time alone, reading your books, and spending time on your own hobbies. You realize that you enjoy parties, but you can only handle them for so long before needing a break. You realize that while you may be good at talking to people, you don't necessarily enjoy it all the time. You don't mind starting conversations with strangers, but you also don't feel compelled to talk to everyone you come across. You start thinking maybe you're actually an introvert. Well, according to Carl Jung's theory, introversion and extroversion go beyond just being shy or outgoing. In fact, he viewed these traits as fundamental aspects of personality that influenced how people perceive and interact with the world around them. So if you're unsure about where you lie on this spectrum, you're not alone. The truth is that most people fall somewhere in between pure introversion and pure extroversion. But understanding the nuances of each can help us navigate social situations more effectively and ultimately lead to more fulfilling relationships and experiences. So let's dive into this video and explore whether you're really an introvert or an extrovert. First off, let's define our terms. Carl Jung defined introversion as a personality type characterized by a focus on internal thoughts, feelings, and moods as opposed to external stimuli. Extroverted individuals, on the other hand, are more energized by the outside world and thrive on social interaction and external stimulation. It's important to note that Jung did not view introversion and extroversion as absolute categories, but rather as a continuum, with most people falling somewhere in between the two extremes. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you're an introvert, you probably enjoy spending time alone and find social interaction draining. You're often lost in your own thoughts and feelings, and may have difficulty opening up to others. You prefer to listen rather than talk, and may struggle with making decisions quickly. On the other hand, if you're an extrovert, you probably love being around people and find energy in social settings. You're more comfortable expressing your opinions and may find it easy to meet new people. You thrive on external stimulation and excitement and may find it difficult to relax or focus on tasks without background noise or activity. But it's not that simple. Not all introverts are the same, and neither are all extroverts. There are different types of introverts and extroverts, and it's possible to have a combination of both introverted and extroverted traits. For example, you may be an introvert who enjoys parties, but only if they're small and intimate. Or perhaps you're an extrovert who loves being around people, but also needs time to recharge alone. If you're still feeling confused, don't worry. It's normal to have traits from both sides of the spectrum, and that's where things get interesting. While it's common to assume that introverts and extroverts are simply opposites of one another, Jung's theory suggests that they are actually complementary and interconnected. In fact, he believed that both introversion and extroversion are necessary for a healthy and well-rounded personality. So what does this mean exactly? Well, imagine a circle divided into two halves, one representing introversion and the other representing extroversion. If someone is a pure introvert, their circle would look like this. But Jung's theory suggests that no one is purely introverted, because we all have a need and desire to connect with others. So even the most introverted of people will have some extroverted tendencies. They may enjoy parties in small doses, or they may have a few close friends that they open up to. Similarly, the most extroverted individuals still have a need for solitude and introspection. They may need time alone to recharge after a night out, or they may find that they enjoy quiet activities like reading or hiking. In short, Jung's theory suggests that introversion and extroversion are not mutually exclusive, but rather complementary aspects of the human psyche. Each side of the spectrum has its strengths and weaknesses. And it's through the interplay between the two that we are able to adapt to different situations and form meaningful connections with others. Let's take a closer look at the strengths and weaknesses of each side, starting with introverts. Introverts often have a rich inner world and are highly imaginative and creative. They're also great at listening and paying attention to detail, which makes them excellent problem solvers. However, introverts can also struggle with social situations and may come across as shy or reserved, You may find it difficult to express their needs and wants, which can lead to misunderstandings or frustration. Now let's move on to extroverts. Extroverts are often seen as confident and outgoing, and they thrive in social situations. They're great at making new friends and often have a wide circle of acquaintances. However, extroverts can also struggle with introspection and self-reflection. They may find it difficult to sit with their negative emotions or come to terms with their own limitations. As you can see, both introverts and extroverts have their own unique strengths and weaknesses, but ultimately it's the interplay between the two that leads to the most well-rounded and adaptable personalities. Jung also believed that our dominant personality type can change over time and in different contexts. For example, you may find yourself acting more introverted when in a new or unfamiliar environment, such as a party or a crowded place. Your body's fight-or-flight response kicks in, and you may feel a surge of adrenaline that makes you want to run away or freeze and hope you didn't notice me. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, and you may start to sweat. You try to make small talk with someone near you, but your voice comes out shaky and you're re-aware of every bead of sweat trickling down your forehead. Suddenly, you need to use the restroom. You escape to the bathroom, splash water on your face, and look at your reflection. You wonder, am I really an extrovert? Why do I feel so drained? Did I really just spend $300 on a dress and $80 on a babysitter for this? Some extroverts may try to push through it and stay at the party, but many will choose to leave early, even though they had every intention of staying until the end. Once home, they'll retreat to their bedrooms, put on their comfy clothes, and order takeout. Now that's what I call a true extrovert moment. Or perhaps you find yourself acting more extroverted when dealing with a work project or a personal challenge. You may become more assertive and vocal in your opinions, and find yourself seeking out opportunities to lead or take charge. The key takeaway here is that introversion and extroversion are not fixed or rigid traits, but rather fluid and dynamic aspects of our personality that can change and evolve depending on the situation. So what does this all mean for you? Well, first and foremost, it is important to remember that there is no right or wrong way to be an introvert or an extrovert. We all have our own unique strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to us to find ways to utilize our strengths and work on our weaknesses. Secondly, it's important to recognize that introverts and extroverts are not mutually exclusive. We all have a mix of both traits and can find ourselves acting differently in different situations. Finally, it's important to remember that Jung's theory suggests that both introversion and extroversion are necessary for a healthy and well-rounded personality. We can all learn from each other and strive to find a balance between the two. Perhaps you're not really an introvert or an extrovert, but a healthy combination of both. After all, life is all about balance. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this topic? You think you're an introvert, an extrovert, or a bit of both? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching.